Everybody, it's Leo and Michael back again, and we're going to talk to you today.
He's Leo, I'm Michael. And we're a comedy act.
It's the pretty one. I'm just borrowing this head. I couldn't find my original. Anyway, so we're going to talk today about our books and some of the services that you can get online. And below, you can see that you can get readings from each of us. There's an email connection there as well, so that you can have full access to us, our services, and hopefully the books, because the books, Michael's has already done phenomenally well. It was the best. Was it new seller? I can't remember.
It was the best new release. It was number one, then went to number 3, went back to number 1. What was interesting, it was not only in the area of personal excellence, but actually in business consulting also hit number 3 in new releases.
And I think that's a great testament to what you do, because as it says along the strapline there, you're an intuitive business coach and energy healer. And let's face it, there are some professions which are intrinsically skeptic. I remember having to write one time to someone that was being slightly critical of mediums in the first place. And I did tell them that there was an MEP, solicitors, bankers, and generally people that should know better that were customers of mine. And I think it's nice to get, business orientated people who obviously can be spiritual in themselves, but they tend to be quite cynical. So I think the fact that you are trusted by so many is an endorsement on its own.
Yeah, it's interesting, Leo, because I've also worked with royalty in 2 countries, and working with CEOs, working with top corporate executives. And it's interesting because a lot of times they'll be very skeptical and they say, I don't know about this stuff. But once they get 1 or 2 answers that they've been looking for, forget it. They don't care about how you do it. They just said, give me more information, give me more answers, help me.
Yeah. I think, sorry, go on.
And when you've got a key employee where there's a challenge with the key employee, it's not wise usually for the people within the company to handle that situation. But it is wise to get an outside consultant in that specializes in that area. And my experience is a lot of times that can be done and resolved within 1 or 2 sessions by someone like myself who is highly intuitive and has the business background.
And I think that's great. You're kind of on 2 levels there, aren't you? You're kind of a troubleshooter.
Only 2? Only 2?
I mean, just those particular areas. So you're kind of a troubleshooter with a spiritual angle. So I think that's great because, troubleshooters are in great demand, aren't they, for all kinds of things. So I think to get that cover and to get that endorsement's a wonderful thing. So tell us a little bit about your energy healing and then a bit about the book and how you can be reached.
Okay, this is my first book, The Healing Energy of Your Hands. When it came out in the UK and it was published by Finhorn Press, it was hands-on spiritual healing and wound up being a bestseller. Then I wound up producing the book called Mastering the Human Experience, Your Soul's Journey on Earth, talking about why people come to Earth, what is the process, what are the challenges. And my new one is Intuition, Your Silent Thunder. And I talk about the history of intuition, what it is, how to access it, and then go into how to apply intuition in the areas of health and healing, personal excellence and spiritual growth, entrepreneurship, business, wealth creation, entrepreneurship, etc. So what's interesting, Leo, is I've got a background, 2 years of engineering, bachelor's in business, master's in international management, whoopee-doo. However, when you add intuition to that and the ability to read energy, that that's a game changer. All of a sudden, I don't need to spend weeks talking to people. I can walk into an organization or help an individual and just almost immediately tune into the deepest core issue that's challenging the person. So I love what I do, and I've been helping people all over the world. I've been to over 50 countries so far teaching. And I was very fortunate to travel and study with the Native American medicine people, Canadian medicine people, Eskimo shamans, Peruvian shamans, worked with for weeks on end with the psychic surgeons from the Philippines, been with the Maoris in New Zealand, and I've got so many t-shirts that it's amazing. And what's interesting is you learn all these modalities. Each group teaches one modality and no one teaches another modality. Well, you put it all into a shaker and you get to the essence of what it is, and it's reading energy, it's intuition. So thank God I've got a team upstairs that are helping me to tune in and just get to the root cause of what is challenging the person. I can do it almost immediately. After working with 20,000 people all over the planet and working in medical clinics also, I am always amazed and delighted with the help that I can give to people. And you do something similar but different. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I think what's wonderful about helping people in business is that quite often a lot of the cost is the research beforehand, the making plans, all the preparation, maybe a couple of visits there to see what's going on in the organization. So to kind of cut all that out and just walk in and immediately have a background, there's a great cost savings to any company there. So if there are any companies watching and you want to cut out the driftwood and go straight there, then
It was quite interesting, Leo, because I was invited into a major corporation, international corporation, and I was told, just as I was walking up to the podium to give my talk, they said, "Michael, you realize you can't touch or work with anyone here." And I went, "Oh my God, how am I going to do this?" Because, I could talk about a lot of things, but a lot of people have heard it. But the work I do is so precise and so fast that it unless you see it, it's hard to imagine that it can be accomplished. And so I went ahead and started giving my talk. And about 5 minutes into my talk, I said, "I can't do this." I said, "You have no idea what I'm talking about." And then from the back of the room, it got very quiet for a while. And there were about 40 people in the room, including the senior managers and department heads. And then all of a sudden, one guy stood up and pointed his finger at me and says, "I don't know what you got, but I want it." and the guy came up to the front of the room. I invited him up to the front of the room, and I said, "How may I serve you?" And the guy said, "Michael, I've been working on my mother issues for the last 13 years. Now, this is the head trainer in this organization. He is the best of the best, totally trained, all kinds of credentials, all kinds of experience, 13 years in counseling and therapy, couldn't crack what was going on." And I just looked at him, shrugged my shoulders, and said, "It's easy." I said, "It's not your mother, it's your father." And I said, "Did your father ever tell you he loved you and respected you?" Instantly, the guy shattered into a million pieces, emotionally broke down. I shouldn't say shattered, he came together. And what happened is all of a sudden, that was it. Every person in that organization wanted a private session with me, and I was able to do a lot of good in that organization. So the illusion is that healing takes a long time. The illusion is that you've got to work through the layers of the onion, one layer, another layer, another layer, another layer. But when you're working with intuition and spirit, you can go directly to the core almost instantly in a matter of seconds, providing the person is ready and willing to take responsibility. So
that's the thing, and we kind of know that from readings, and people have wonderful experiences from readings. I'd like to talk a little bit about my first book. Oh, which I didn't have quite so handy. It's there we go. It's Summerland, and it's basically a story based on facts. It's what happens as we pass and where we find ourselves in spirit and afterwards. And this is actually based on a young boy, Alex, and just prior to his passing and what he finds after. And it's an explanation as to what spirit is like, how it is, how we can move forward, some of the experiences that we have there. And it covers a lot of aspects, some of the reasons, for example, for cot deaths, how mediumship works, the connection from spirit, and some of the dangers there as well, bad spirits, that's all kind of spoken about. But it gives a real feeling of what it's like to be there, because there are some huge differences between here and there. Thank God, no pun intended. So it goes through that. It goes through reincarnation and lots of other issues that people would wonder about. So it tends to get 5 stars whenever it's bought. It's a very easy book to read. And it's something that children from about the age of 10 up can read as well. So Spirit have written it in a very simple way. And I always find that when Spirit can explain very difficult subjects and principles very simply. And so the book is very easy to read on that. It's had some wonderful reviews. Thank God. I've got my new book here, and it's called The Voice of Spirit, and it's an explanation and has some wonderful reviews from people at the top of their profession, physical mediums, people like Robin Foy. And if anyone's ever heard of the skull experiment or look up the skull experiment, then they will know exactly who I'm speaking about. So there's some leaders, if you like, that have given some wonderful endorsements. And the book is about the transcriptions, some of the transcriptions of Leslie Flint's seances. Now, for people that haven't heard about direct voice mediumship, real direct voice is a wonder to behold. And I was blessed to have sat with Leslie. And it's in light. It's like this. Leslie's awake, which is another phenomenon by itself. And Leslie would just sit very quietly. Sometimes he'd speak as well, because people used to accuse him of ventriloquism. And, Leslie's had 8 or 9 voices from spirit talking amongst themselves with him joining in. Now, that's a hell of a ventriloquism act. So people would come through. And I've got some favourites, and they're in the book. But these people from all across the board, Queen Victoria and John Brown are there. There are other famous people that are there. But I do like the ordinary person, because it's one thing to have stars and celebrities and that there. But most of us, of course, are not like that. So it's those people, I suppose, that would relate to us more. And so the recordings are very clear. They've been upgraded, and you can download those, so you actually can hear the voices as well as read along with the transcripts. And the reason it's been done that way is quite a few are English. And so the accents will differ, and it can make it hard. The Americans they love our accent, but
Leo, I've never met anyone with an accent. The other people have an accent, not the person that's talking. Go ahead, Leo. Where can these things be purchased?
Now it's going out on pre-order on Amazon. Summerland you can buy direct from me. The Leslie, the Voice of Spirits is going to go on Amazon on pre-order, and that's in September. but at the moment we're doing pre-order only. So if you want to get on the early list and get 15% off and a signed book, then you need to go to information at leo-bonomo.com. There's a list there, sign up. So you'll get preferential treatment. It will then you'll then be notified when the date for the book going on Amazon on pre-order, and we go from there. It isn't a book like any other, and people often think that voice recordings from spirits are like the white noise things that you get, you know, little hisses and that kind of thing. And these are not. These are very clear. They're not short. Some are 20 minutes long, some are half hour long. And it's people speaking with intelligence and knowledge about not only their subject, but of course spirit and their experiences of life. So it's a lovely blend. There's historical themes in there. And
can I jump in for a second,
yeah.
Leo? I just wanted to say that I'm very familiar with Edgar Cayce and his readings. I've been very fortunate as I've traveled around the world to meet full body channels, to meet people that brought forth information, and the guidance that is available to help us understand ourselves, the planet, what we're going through, is absolutely amazing. So I totally support your books and my books, and this is another eye-opener and a validation of what is available when we take off our blinders and say there's more than what we've been told scientifically. There's more than what we learn in school. By the way, I know Jane and what's his name, Solomon. Anyway, the Schofield Project, is it?
Oh, the Skull Project, yeah.
Yeah, I know the owners of that.
Yeah.
They've been to my workshops, and they're great people. So all this is important to open up your awareness. And sometimes when we're listening to the channelings, when we're listening, or even sitting in the room, or even now being on this, listening to this podcast, what happens is your third eye, your awareness, and your crown chakra, your connection to your higher self, start opening, and energetically you start clearing. So just the fact that you're on here listening to Leon, listening to myself, there are energy packets that are being gifted to you from spirit, from us, and also healing. So I highly suggest, highly endorse getting the information, looking at it, reading it, digesting it, savoring it, and allowing yourself to melt into the other dimensions so that you can pick up the activation. Back to you, Leo.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to find here some of the one of the recordings, and I don't know really whether this is going to work. Let me just see. I should have prepared this. I do apologize. And let me just see. Where's that? I've lost that. Okay, so there's one of the recordings that I want to, let's just get all the screen back to where we should be. One of the recordings that I want to play, and I have to say that there's a great connection between my family and Sir Winston Churchill, and this wasn't something that I was aware of. Now, one of the things that I have to say is when people come through spirit, there's always a connection. And I was doing class one day, or should I say my guides were doing class one day, and I went into trance, and this voice started to come through. Now, normally you're out of it and the voice is just talking. But on this particular occasion, I was privileged to hear what was being said. And I recognized the voice. And it was only afterwards, when class had finished, that a gentleman who had been in the police force many, many years, trained observer, and he said to me, "Do you know who that was?" And I said, "I think so, but I wouldn't like to say." And he said, "That was Winston Churchill that came through." And for decades, I wondered why that had happened, because there's always a connection. And in getting this book done, my cousin, she said to me, "Have you heard of this particular gentleman?" And I said, "No." And she said, "He's a great, great friend of the family and a great medium. And in fact, he was a very, very good friend of Winston Churchill for over 30 years. So that was the connection that was there." Anyway, I read his book in which he mentions Churchill, and Churchill was very, very psychic himself, a medium, although obviously he couldn't admit it publicly, and talked about those kind of connections that were there. Now, I took 2 recordings. One is one of the 24 recordings that you're able to download, and I took a wartime speech that he'd done, and I took everything that would identify Churchill in the first recording out. And this highly respected forensic audio lab, they've worked on the cases with JFK and all over the world at the top levels of courts, giving evidence. And they said that the voice trait was plus 99%. We give other parts of that report as well. So that was a great endorsement to what was happening. So I'd just like to play, I don't know if this is going to work, I need to turn the volume up perhaps, and play one of these recordings. Now, it's a gentleman called Wagstaff. He is English. He actually talks about areas of London that I know quite well. I won't play you the whole thing, but his first remarks when he understands that he is connected to Earth, is, well, I never knew I could come through like this. So I just want to play this. I don't know if it's going to work. Hopefully it will.
Hello. Well, this thing, I never thought I'd be able to come and speak like this.
Gotcha.
Can you hear what I say?
Yes.
Oh, dear. Where's your feet?
He's stayed upstairs, so he's not coming up.
Oh, poor chap. Sorry to that. Oh, crowd people this day, I tell you.
I have to send a message to him.
Yeah, tell him to keep his pecker up. Tell him that we're doing all around, like, keeping an eye on him. Tell him what can help.
So that's just a very, very short snippet, but you can hear how clear the voices are, completely natural. And I think one of the wonderful things with the recordings are that you can sit there for 20 minutes, half hour, and what really freaks you out, as in this case with Wagstaff, is that was recorded just over 60 years after Wagstaff died. So, you know, that's the freaky thing. They're not kind of spooky in any way, but hopefully that worked and you could hear that. I will be doing some samples where sample tracks that can be downloaded, and I think I may add them to this or do another quick chat on stream. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm It's a fascinating to listen and to connect with the information.
I think it's wonderful too, and 10% of the profits are also going to the Leslie Flint Foundation for the upkeep of the library and that kind of thing. So you're also sending money for a good cause when you buy the book. So hopefully that's an encouragement of itself. But I think the interesting thing is that people like you and I, when we're connected to this subject, that's one thing. But I think the general public have not really heard, apart from white noise recordings, they've not really heard of direct voice, and they've not really heard or witnessed the extreme accuracy of the recordings and how they are. So I think for the general public to get this kind of information and understand truly, once and for all, we do exist after that transition called death, and hopefully it'll ignite their imaginations.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, I've been fortunate as I've been traveling the world to meet people who were able to trans-channel, people that were able to even full body channel, just shift, and the other energies come into their body, which I personally would not allow because of the, this is my body. I came in with it. You want to talk to me, you can talk to me, but I don't give you permission to take over my body. And some people, that's their path. So I've been around lots and lots of people on very different levels. I've seen incredible information. But see, once you develop your intuition, you can also connect to the Akashic records. You can connect to the past, the future. Absolutely. And there's even things called psychic archaeology, where they're using these tools and gifts to check archaeological sites. So again, there's so many, it's like a smorgasbord. It's like a giant restaurant with this huge table. It's like, what do you want? What is it you want? And for me, I mean, I'm Virgo, Leo. I want to know, how can I apply it? How can this improve my life? How can I become a better person? How can I have better relationships? How can I be healthier? How can I be more successful? So for me, a lot of it is random information. For me, isn't that interesting. I want to know how I can apply it to help people. And, we're both doing that. Go on, Leo.
I think between our books, you helping to ignite people's intuition to use it as it's meant to be used, because it's been very dulled over the centuries. I think for that to happen, and for people to realize who've never heard of materialization mediums, direct voice mediums, this is going to open a whole new world for them. And what that does is not only just take away the fear of passing, take away the expectancy of using your intuition in all kinds of situations, but it makes the mind want more information, real, true information, because not only is the spirit world very different to what most people think, but this world is as well. It's been held down by governments and that kind of institution, backed by some science, because they don't want this freedom of this information to come out. And I think these two books in conjunction will work wonders to begin to start to truly free people. I'm kind of leaning over a bit. There we go. Let's get centered, as they say. That's brilliant. Do you want to remind people of your book before we go?
One more quickie.
Yeah.
New book, Intuition, Your Silent Thunder. That's my new release. Mastering the Human Experience that came out a couple of years ago, and the international bestseller that came out in 1995 and is still being sold, all available on Amazon. And all my contact details are below. If you have any questions you would like to communicate, I'm also running online training programs for developing healers and developing people's intuition. Also working with companies, corporations, consulting. And the other thing I'm looking at doing is working on non-executive boards, because I can help the companies and the organizations and the entrepreneurs to build their business. Back to you, Leo.
I think that's fantastic. So here is my new book. Oops, I keep missing the camera. The Voice of Spirit, by myself. I'm not very good at this, as you can tell, so hopefully I can get that without any blur. So that's my new book. Read it. It'll take away the fear, but it'll open a wonderful door to spirit. And there is, of course, my first book, Summerland. It's not that clear to see on there. Oh dear, I'm not very good at this at all. Summerland, by myself. You can buy it, Summerland, direct from me. You can order it, and we shall wait on any connections that you want to make to either of us. If you've got more questions about our books, what we do, then of course you've got Michael's connection there. I do, sorry about that. We've got Michael's connections there and myself here. So we're both available. If you're interested in pre-ordering the book, it's info@leo-bonomo.com. Or sorry, customers are eager.
Spirit is ringing. Spirit is ringing. The orders are coming in. The orders are coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. How's that? This is very unprofessional. Let me just, I've got to call them back. So we've got to go.
Bye. Thank you for listening. This is a comedy act, Leo.
Absolutely.